General quarters, all hands man your battle stations.
Broadcasting live on WNN 1470 AM, 95.3 FM, iHeartRadio, and the World Wide Web. This is Make America Think Again with your Google blacklisted host, Tom Trento.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. No, Will Robinson. Danger.
All right, we may be blacklisted by Google and blocked by Verizon, and we can't mail to AOL and all of those things. Something just fell. But we are coming to you live over the terrestrial airwaves of about 50,000 watts of electricity going from South Miami way up north. Tom Trento, your host, WWNN 1470, 95.3 Beautiful September 22nd. Isn't it nice?
But wait a second.
Cool,
wait
nice
a second.
and
I have
cool.
to interrupt you, Tom.
Come on, I'm doing this.
Well, wait a second. Wait a second.
What do you
Let's
want?
talk about attire.
Are we married? Are we married here?
We're talking about,
Okay.
what a beautiful day. It's a
Yes.
gorgeous day. I'm wearing a flower dress.
Yes, I noticed.
I come in clothes that are, business attire. Like now that I'm working here, I need to know what is the attire here. Mark comes here in his pajamas. And here you are. What's with the Batman shirt?
Pajamas? What are you talking
deal?
about? Pajamas? I got flip-flops on, okay?
Those-
I actually wear, and everything.
Like you're going to the
It's
beach.
usually his underwear. If he's wearing his pajamas because there's a girl in the house,
But
You
what's the deal with the Batman
You don't
shirt?
like my Batman shirt?
I mean, I think it's great, but I need an explanation here.
Yeah, let me tell you. This is, 9:05 in the morning. And before we started, I talked to Susie Gold. I said, look, let's do a little shtick here about my shirt. And she's great. You're, you got a SAG card by any chance? You have a SAG card, Screen Actors Guild? Glad you asked about my Batman shirt. I usually wear a shirt that has some reference to what we're doing on the show. And when I was a little kid, it goes way back. And your phone is ringing, or somebody's phone, my phone. Oh, my phone is ringing. Telemarketer. Should I answer it? A telemarketer.
No, that's a bill collector.
I'm getting a lot of those these days.
It's a bill collector is what it is.
Spam calls me a lot, too. I don't know who that is.
Spam risk.
Mr. Spam.
Spam risk. As a little kid, and I didn't learn this until way later in life, I had this sense of justice. I was a pretty good athlete as a skinny little kid growing up in the streets and playing football. And all the big kids would pick me for their team because I was pretty fast. And I saw that this isn't fair. You got all the guys that are questionable, and I'm with all these good guys here. So I put myself on the side of the underdog. 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, Pop Warner football, all that. And later in life, after I had become a Christian, my mind got a little more alert, enlightened. I realized it was just the way God made my nature to fight for the underdog, which I've been doing all of my life, basically. But one interesting thing, my goal was to go into the FBI, federal, not the full-blooded Italian, I was one of those, but the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And as a little kid, and you had to be 5'8", and I had a thing on my wall. I was trying to stretch myself and get to 5'8" and all this, and you had to go to law school. And I was on the track. I did a degree in law enforcement. But as a little kid, I couldn't wait every month for a comic book to come out. I would take this comic book, I think it was 25 cents back then, and where I was living in a rural area at the time. We lived in a city, and then on the weekends in a rural area. I would climb up a tree, probably 30 feet in the tree, on a little perch, sit there and read this whole comic and fantasize about this superhero. Can you guess what superhero it was? Batman, yeah. I have been a Batman fan.
The Dark Knight.
I have been a Batman fan all my life. And because he went to Gotham City and fought bad guys. Yeah. And and we're at a point right now in our history where Reza Aslan, the Iranian-backed jihadi, who somehow has some significance in America, has called for, if Donald Trump moves ahead with nominating and bringing forth a vote on a judge, burning the cities down. And the left is calling for this. and you go, wouldn't it be nice if Batman would come, his light would shine in the sky, he would come with Robin, and boom, they saved the day. But it's not like that.
So who's the Joker
Who's the Joker
today, and who's the Riddler and all those?
The Joker is. I meant to send you. I'm going to send you a short video, and you'll see the Joker. I'll send you that.
Great. Hey, Tom, wait to the last possible second to do that.
I forgot about this one.
Because
send it
I
to
hate
you.
to do any show prep for this.
We're going to have the Joker do the Pledge of Allegiance for us this morning.
Oh, really?
That's what we're going to have. It's a little bit of a hint. So this is saying we need a superhero to come, but we know that's a comic book. So we need men and women who are called by God, because we're fighting.
We have to be the superheroes.
Yeah, we're fighting a godless society. We have to be those superheroes, and we have to step in. And the Call of Duty comes, and we got 40. How many days? 41 days.
41 days.
Nadler would be the
Election
penguin.
day.
Nadler would be the back. Well, we have a great show for you. A very dear friend of ours is here in studio. Everybody give a round of applause to Mike Essen, talk show host from South Florida.
Welcome, Mike.
You're on, Mike. Hello. How
Hi,
are
Tom.
you?
Hi, Susie. Nice to be on your show. The pleasure's mine.
I don't see you on the. We're just going to hear him today. Okay. Oh, maybe we'll bring him around for everybody to see. Mike Essen. Mike, I want to find out a little bit about you. I want the audience, our audience, to know a little more about you. You've been around for a long time. You've done a lot of radio, and you're an impressive guy. I admire the work you're doing. Tell us a little bit about Mike Essen, E-S-S-E-N, who you are, what you do, and why you matter.
Great question, Tom. I'm somebody who, my father was the late, great Richard Essen, a famed attorney, and he used to go to the talk studios when I was a kid, and I used to sit in the studios waiting for Dad to come home and listening to my dad, being proud of him, see how things change. And in 1994, he was part of Steve Kane's O.J. Simpson panel when O.J. committed the murder.
Oh, okay.
And I used to go to the studio with him. 5 years later, after when Steve Kane and Brian Craig went to WWNN, it's currently this studio, Brian said to Steve, give Mike a try once a month. And Steve agreed to it. I became a once-a-week co-host with Brian Craig while my dad co-hosted with Steve Kane for 6 years. That. From 1999 to 2005. And shortly after, I was one of the first people who thought, I'll do my own podcasts, and I will have guests on. The first guest I had was a man from the ACLU when gay marriage was an issue. I was strongly opposed to it, of course. And from then, I just had a talk show with no calls, and I was my own host. I didn't have a co-host. Later, I decided I'll move up to Blog Talk Radio. And some of my guests on both stations, on MikeEssen.net, which is up there, included Ben Carson, Alan West, Alveda King, Ron DeSantis, and Mike Lee. I had Oliver North and Marco Rubio on my show recently. I debated Gloria Allred and abortion.
I listened to that. Now, we've got to stop for a minute. Mike Essen, our guest here in studio, debated Gloria Allred. Anyone who's familiar with the pro-life issue, or really any of women's issues, she's the witch, total witch on the left, who is the advocate for all these crazy positions. And I mean, she jumps into insane stuff half the time. Hardcore pro-abortionist, but she is an expert. She's a world-class expert. When I saw that you were debating her, I said, oh, Mike may be stepping a little bit, out of his league here. But I listened to that show, and you kicked her butt all over the place. It was embarrassing how she tried to defend the pro-life movement with you, just asking penetrating questions and putting her in her place with this fabulous job. What is your philosophical, theological, political context? Where do you come from?
Arch conservative first, Republican second. I stand almost 100% with the conservative movement. I always have my whole life. In fact, one interesting thing about me, Tom, is your audience may not know this, or they might. I came from a very liberal family. And the heroes of my grandparents were Ted Kennedy, George McGovern, Hubert Humphrey, My father was when he was more liberal, he became more conservative later in life, was the co-chairman of Robert King High's campaign. And when I announced it in 1985, when I was 14, that I was a Republican, I almost said I wasn't Jewish anymore to the family. And I stood my ground, took heat from teachers. When I defended the Contras, the anti-communist resistance in Nicaragua,
yeah.
My teacher thought I was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. I had my Star of David with my sheets on me, you know.
Unbelievable.
But I really love doing talk radio, and I have other interests too. I'm a huge movie buff. I go back to even the 30s with Laurel and Hardy, the Marx Brothers, Swing, you know, Ginger and Fred. I go to, you know, I can watch it for the 50s, 60s, 70s. Tell you my favorite film of each decade except the 20s. And I love sports, and it's really sad. I'm very saddened to see what's happened to it. But I grew up a football and baseball fan, but right now my show is primarily primarily a political program from a very conservative point of view. In fact, the trademark name, because when I'm mostly listened to is in South Dade, the Miami area. There's no other English-speaking conservative talk host.
Yeah.
So I'm known as South Florida's conservative voice.
All right, hey, we have Mike Essen with us, 9:15 in the morning, WNN 1470, 95.3.
Tom, another hater. You brought another hater.
Another hater, brought another hater here.
You know.
Hey, look, we're trying to expand the message. Mike, you know, because we've spoken to United West with a whole bunch of other groups. We're mobilizing 1,000,001 evangelical Christians and politically conservative Jewish people to come out. These are additional people, not the 9.5 million that voted in 2016. This would make it 10.5 million and have a definitive victory. We're doing that. And you are obviously philosophically in line with what we're doing. We want you to push our message out.
Absolutely.
You know Michelle Terrace and the Jexit people.
She was on my show a couple weeks ago.
All right.
Great.
She's our sister in arms with the other ladies, Siggy and Karen and Sophia. We had a big event the other day.
Yeah, about 600 attendees.
Yeah,
to
it was
that event
amazing.
in West Palm Beach.
So what I'd like to do today is
where can we find Mike's show at?
yeah. How do you find your show? Yeah, we're gonna
Sure. Go to blogtalkradio.com/MikeESSEN show. blogtalkradio.com/Mike Essen show.
There you go. And when are you on? What times?
It's right now I'm on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, in case anyone's listening on the West Coast. But it's going to be 4 days a week starting October 5th, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 5.
Our hat is off to you. Anybody that does this radio stuff, and you do it by yourself, basically.
That's correct.
But you mentioned Steve Kane and Brian Craig, dear friends of ours. We're following their audience now, which is great. And so you were there in the days when Steve Kane wasn't quite a conservative.
No, he was a conservative then.
Tell us about
he was conservative in about 92, I'd say, a little before my father was on the show. But you were saying, Tom?
So you saw his transition from kind of a crazy lefty to a crazy righty, right?
It was when I first heard him on the air, he was for open sex. He was a pot smoker. He was for leftism. He was a communist sympathizer. Today, he's an evangelical Christian conservative, and just the opposite.
Just the opposite. It's amazing what God's Spirit can do to
and maturity.
Yeah. No, he got saved in the Christian language. Well, it's interesting when you were doing the OJ trial.
My dad did it. I didn't.
You did. You know, I do remember him. That was 94, 95, and I ran a congressional campaign in 94 with Contract with America with Gingrich. I ran a race out of the 3rd District, Northern California, Sacramento, and North for a dear friend of mine, Tim Lefevre. Moved out to California, ran it. We almost won, and we almost knocked off Vic Fazio, 17-year Democrat leader, brand new guy. We lost by a percentage point. But when I got back, I was doing a little bit of radio here and there as a guest, and a guy from WJNO, Jack Cole. You ever hear of Jack Cole?
I've heard him. I've heard his show. I've never met him.
Yeah, well, it's hard to meet now. He's passed away into wherever people like Jack Cole go. But he would call me once in a while to be the conservative to his hardcore leftist liberal. But he was an entertainer, too. Phenomenal, one of the best talk show hosts I've ever seen in my life. Brilliant, funny, so I would come on, and we would have legitimate battles in the studio to the point where he would, when I was starting to go in for the kill, because any conservative can beat any liberal any day of the week if you know what you're doing, no matter how good they are. When I would go in for the kill, he'd go, "You know what, Trento?" Boom, he'd push the button, and I'm taking a break. And he'd leave. As soon as he was off the air, "F you, Trento, you're a jerk. I'm going, "Jack, come on." And he had to go smoke a cigarette, and he came back in.
You rattled him.
Nothing like courage, Tom. Nothing like courage.
That's how our relationship started. And I attended his funeral in his home, so we became very, very close through the years. And he said, "Come on back tomorrow, and come on back the next day. Come on." In 1995, I was on the show every day. I was the conservative to his liberalism. We had a great, great show. And then on April 15th, 1995, I think it was, we were doing OJ, all of that. I think it was 1995 or 96. Timothy McVeigh blew up the Murrah building in Oklahoma. And I'm home. And Jack calls me up. He said, the station, it was a Clear Channel station, sending me to Oklahoma to report from the explosion, the bomb site. I go, "Oh, all right." He goes, "You're hosting the show tomorrow." I said, "What?" And it's very easy to be a guest. You know that, Mike, because you ramble on. Now there, you had to push buttons, and you had to take calls, and you had to do this. Jack, I'm there. "You're ready, Trento. You're ready. You're ready. Go do it. Go do it." I can't. I don't want to do this. I did it, and that led to me getting hired by the station and all that, and getting fired by Clear Channel. You're nothing in radio unless you get fired by Clear Channel at least once in your life. But I got even with them in another world, another life. So anyway, we got Mike Essen with us, and it's 9:21 in the morning. We're gonna look at some of the news items of the day, get Mike's very insightful view of what's going on, and then just have a good time today. We're gonna have a little different kind of show.
Sounds
How about
great
that?
to me, Tom.
So, Susie Gold, what do you see? What's going on in the world?
Well, let's talk about Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Of course, we on her demise, and may she rest in peace. And she did some wonderful things for women, and certainly in her own life, moving up through the ranks as a female during a time when she was a minority.
When is this a great eulogy of?
Let her go. Let her go.
Come on, I want to
We'll get our chance.
Yeah, but
Sting
let's.
so bad. Come on.
Well, I do think we need to pay
Be kind.
respect.
Yeah,
She
go ahead.
did some
Yes.
really good things in her life, but now, of course, what we're talking about is her replacement. So what I would love to hear from Mike is what your view is on who will replace Justice Ginsburg, and when do you think she'll be replaced?
It'll be around Friday or Saturday, and Amy Coney Barrett is the best choice, and I think that's who will be the choice. You have a woman who's been charitable her whole life. She's adopted Haitian and special needs children. She is a strict constructionist, and she's a woman. So what are they going to say? She sexually assaulted men? But I will say this, though, about the left, and bashing the left is what I do best. When Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer said that if he nominates a justice, we're going to declare war in this country, that is an act of treason. That is encouraging violence, which the whole Democrat Party has done. By the way, to say something else, the Democrat Party is no longer liberal. They're communist revolutionaries. If you look at the history of burning books, defunding the police, tearing down statues, free medical care, free college, sounds familiar, doesn't it? But they're already, we have an insurgency of communism, and they're trying to do whatever the ends justify the means to get her off the court, and the main issue is abortion. I've been active in the pro-life cause, as you know, as some of you might know from Steve Kane days, from over 30 years. And this is a great opportunity to save many lives of unborn children, which I don't know why the left is so happy about killing them when they're born and when they're unborn, as well as trying to overthrow the governments.
Yep. Susie Gold, you're an
Yeah.
observant Jew.
Yes, I am.
I'm an observant Christian. And there is an element, we have a belief in an eternal rest, eternal paradise. If you do the right things, you're in the right place. If you do the wrong things, you're in the wrong place. And a little modification to that. But there is respect for people when they die. So it's not wrong to recognize the good, anything like that. I've watched some documentaries of her, and she started off as a fighter for women's rights, which was very important at the day. It was a very male-dominated culture; it needed to be changed. And but how would you analyze or understand her dying wish that now CNN and every ABC, everyone's running?
That's in the Constitution.
That
That's in the
her
Constitution.
granddaughter.
Yeah.
Oh, this was hysterical. Did you see what her granddaughter did? How she said? She said, my now I want everybody in our listening audience at 9:25 in the morning, Tom Trento, Susie Gold, Mike Essen, Mark, Mary up north, we're all here. I want everybody to think about the optics, the picture. Here's a woman brutalized by horrendous cancer, clearly on medication, unless they're evil people. They have given her painkillers, typically morphine. So, is she in a lucid, cogent state of mind to say or do anything? Number one. Let's assume she is, in spite of all of this stuff. Her granddaughter says, "What are your dying wishes? Was there anything you want to go on the record to say?" President said yesterday,
And whatever you do,
I
don't
think
record it.
Chuck
Don't
Schumer wrote this. He said, right? And she said, "I took out my computer
Yeah.
and I typed verbatim what my grandmother said." Your
So,
opinion.
this is interesting because, as you know, my first career is as a registered nurse. And unfortunately, I was on the cardiac arrest team, and there were quite a few people that survived. And unfortunately, I was present during the demise and through a long-term illness or a short-term illness and through people's dying days. And I could say that through all of my experience, when you're at that place where you are ending your life, what you do is you re-look at your life, who I was, how I was to people. Forget about your job. Forget about what you did for a living and how you earned your money. You don't talk about that. No one I know has ever talked about that. But what they did is they said, "I want my family. I love my family." You try and make amends with those people that you feel you need to make amends with. And, it's not a time to talk about politics, especially, you talk about the lucidity and the medication that this person was on. And then the other thing is just it's your end of life, which is really a culmination of all of your efforts and what you did on this earth during the time that you were here. So I for one firmly feel that there was no one else in that room to say that is in fact what she said, other than the granddaughter, or was it a niece? Was it
granddaughter? Yeah,
granddaughter. It seems like that was a real political move by the powers to be. But I think really what a person really does at their end of life is really look at who they were to the people around them, their loved ones, and the ones they cared about. So I really find it amusing that was even brought up.
Do you find it far-fetched or reasonable, or?
Well, look, our Constitution is what dictates how we live our lives, how our country operates, and we need to go by the Constitution. And I mean, it was even Obama himself. If you YouTube the video, Obama said, I don't know what year, maybe you know what year, but it was when he needed to replace Judge Scalia, wasn't it? I think it was Scalia.
16.
And he said that that you must replace it's in the Constitution. You must replace the judges immediately after a demise or a loss or a resignation, we need to fill the judge seats. So, and that's in our Constitution. So whether this was said, not said by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is irrelevant. Whether she, whoever thinks she heard what she heard, who knows? I don't know how many witnesses, if there were witnesses, but I think it's, I don't believe it. And besides belief, it really doesn't matter. It's not in our Constitution. And also, a judge isn't supposed to even be saying anything like that. Even if she was lucid, she shouldn't be saying anything like that. They're supposed to be impartial, neutral. So what happened to that neutrality? So,
Hey, my guess, and I want to dive into the psychology of this a bit. We'll deconstruct the situation of Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying, and the reason why it's relevant, the left has latched on to this, and they're using it, this being her dying wish, as a cudgel to beat the president and Lindsey Graham. They're picketing Lindsey Graham's house to beat them with a moral, a call to higher morality. And when you lose the argument of logic, which they've lost, when you lose the argument of law, which they've lost, you resort to some faux argument, some fake argument, or some emotional argument. And if you could couch your emotional, nonsensical argument in a moral context, it resonates and moves some people. So, a couple of options. She actually said this. We'll look at that as an option. Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually said, I don't want Donald Trump making the next election, is basically what she said. Or she didn't say it and somebody's making it up. If she said that I don't want Donald Trump replacing me, and she said, I want the next president, meaning not him, but the next president, Joe Biden, to replace me, psychologically, and let's assume she's of a full state of mind, because that's the supposition here. Otherwise, why would you propagate, the nonsensical ramblings of a dead person as something valid? So they're assuming she's of a solid state of mind, she's cogent, and this is her valid position. How would you interpret that as a human being, psychologically and even politically?
From psychologically, I think she's too fanatical and it's too important to her. I mean, she has family. She has a world that's in crisis. There's a pandemic going on. She has grandkids. She has great grandkids. I think that should come first. So I think psychologically she'd be a little screwed up. And from our point of view, as Clark Gable once said, I don't give a damn what she thinks. I never agreed with this woman. If she said that, I think less of her. I'm sorry she passed away, but I don't believe she did say it. But if she did, which is a big if, why would anybody care? It's beyond me.
Yeah, Mark, the same question to you. If she said this, what does that indicate about her, what's the word, when you're, her impartiality on the bench and her political activism? I mean, what's it saying here?
I tend to kind of believe it, to be quite honest with you, is because she's such an ideologue. When she died, when her husband died, the next day she's in the Supreme Court. I mean, the girl just never, that's all she thought about was this. I mean, she had multiple opportunities to leave the bench throughout the years and didn't, because she wanted to hang on to her very last breath. It wouldn't surprise me at all if she said that. But like Mike said, who cares? Okay, who cares? But we do have some more important breaking news, though, was that Cocaine Mitch McConnell, yeah, Cocaine Mitch, which is a funny background story, yes. Yeah. All out of cocaine and Supreme Court justices.
Yeah.
But Mitch McConnell just came out and said, I have enough votes to pass to get the nominee elected. Now, he didn't say he had a majority of votes. He said, hey, I have enough votes. So either Romney or Collins or Murkowski are going to be just a present vote, which would push us over the edge, or, he thinks that they're all going to say no, and it's going to go down to Pence. But he said, we have enough votes in the Senate, so it makes me think that it's not a tie. He definitely has a majority of some form in the Senate to pass it. So either Romney flipped and is going to go with Trump, or one of them is going to abstain. All has to is one of them has to abstain, and we have a majority.
Yeah, I want to take a look at what the world's going to look like in a few days, and it's 9:33 in the morning a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. First day of what? Mike Essen, it's the first day of what?
The Jewish New Year.
That's true. It's true. It's the Jewish New Year. It's true.
No.
It's also the first day.
Isn't it the second day?
Second.
The first,
Yeah, well.
first or
Winter.
second day, depending on you're in Israel or not.
Fall.
I'll
Yeah.
try it again. Even though it's the first day of the Jewish New Year, it's also the first day of what?
Fall.
Fall. All right. No humidity in Florida, South
Look at
Florida.
that. It changed overnight.
I know your hair is. Your hair
I
is
know. It's not frizzy today.
That was amazing. The first day was nice. Did you, Mark? Mark was very worried about where you live with winds and everything. How'd you manage last night?
It wasn't too bad, but tonight it's supposed to hit tonight.
Oh.
But what's really kind of interesting, living near the beach, you can actually see the seasons. Actually, the sun stops and goes the other direction. It's kind of wild.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, there you go. Well, Tom Trento, your host, our special guest, radio talk show host Mike Essen. He's in the studio with us. And I'm sorry, Mike, I thought you were going to be on camera, and the good folks can't see you. But
Someone would have told me.
we should put his picture up or
Someone would have
something.
told me, I would have put him on camera.
Throw his picture up. I'll send you his picture, and I got to send you the other little piece too. We're just having a good time today here, but always making America think again. There you go. Out of the way, Susie Gold. MATA, Make America Think Again. Our mission over the next 41 days, mobilize 1,000,001 evangelical Christians and conservative Jews to vote intelligently, to vote their values, and their values are the Republican Party. I mean, it's very, very clear. It's day and night. Back to Ruth Bader Ginsburg for a moment on WWNN 1470. If indeed she said that she is an evil person, a completely evil person, to take the last moments of her life. Now, I read the day she died that somebody said she's in heaven with Anton Scalia watching the opera together. And I said, interesting. I said, what's the criterion for entering heaven nowadays, right? I read her background. She's Jewish, but she rejected Judaism totally early in her legal career, educational career, because it was man-centered. She said, I can't agree with a man-centered religion like this, and she rejected it, but kept the symbolism, the Rosh Hashanah, and all of those things. But she was not an observant Jew, didn't believe in the observant principles. Now, on your deathbed, there's conversions all the time, and we pray that occurred with her. But if she went out as a political activist that wanted to keep turning this country to the left, in spite of the Constitution that she violated in so many of her decisions, that's an evil decision, an evil thing to do if you're a conservative like me and Mike. Your thoughts, Mike?
Completely, Tom. And this is a woman, if you look at her past and things she has said, she said our Constitution should be like South Africa's. Not something I'm very impressed with or think a republic should be like whatsoever. There's a lot of, it's a chaotic country to put it mildly. She's for abortions up until birth. She has never respected the Second Amendment. I mean, if she were well and alive today, let's say she would be a communist like the other people in the Democrat Party. I don't use that term loosely, by the way. These people are not for freedom, and she wasn't either.
Yeah, and this is why. I mean, if she was just sort of a passive mamby-pamby kind of individual and vote, you wouldn't see the left going as crazy as they're going right now. She was a judicial activist moving the country in a particular position away from the Judeo-Christian moorings because she rejected Judaism as a system of law and of theology. So why should she have a Judeo-Christian system that's the Constitution is based upon? So she's moving away from that. They're furious because they needed her vote. Now the antithesis is going to be replaced with Amy Coney Barrett, if it's her. It may be the Lugano woman from South Florida.
She's going to be
But,
raked over the coals,
I
though.
like the 38-year-old.
Yeah.
She's really good.
Yeah.
She's actually better than a.
But the point I want to drive home right now for our listeners at 9:38 in the morning, we have the Trump people
Right.
coming up in a
Yep,
little bit.
we do. At 9:45.
The point I want to drive is we need to respect people who have died, all of that, and she's going to have a ceremony. Strategically, Donald Trump's move was brilliant. Wait respectfully until she's laid to rest. And I'm going at first, guy's blowing a week, man. This is an important week. You got 45 days. Let's go. Mitch.
Yeah, Cocaine Mitch is behind the scenes twisting arms. That's where it's all going to get done. I mean, they know whoever he picks, Mitch is going to twist an arm and get it done.
I thought Lindsey Graham was going to jump out of his skin last night on, I think it was Hannity.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
He's shaking because he's in a tough race, right?
Right.
And he's going, I am in a position for the judiciary. I'm going to make the decision. I got all the votes. This is moving forward. We have enough votes. This is getting done.
Bam. Yeah.
He was shaking like, and
Well, I think he's mad because they're storming his house.
yeah, well, they are. They're storming his house. Have you seen that? They're shining lights into it, horns and all this. And there is a Tranquility Act in some of these cities where you're not allowed to do that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I think the left, Mike, what do you think? When Amy Barrett, if it's her, which we all think it's going to be her, and if we get surprised, it's going to be the Cuban woman, Barbara Lagoa, to secure Florida. Inevitably, before the election, you talk about an October surprise, there's going to be a new Supreme Court justice. What's going to happen in the streets? Are these people going to go nuts?
Yes. They're going to go nuts when she gets confirmed. They're going to go nuts after Trump gets reelected. You heard my prediction. They go nuts about anything they don't like. They're terrorists. They're domestic terrorists. Not just Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Anybody who's doing the stuff they're doing on the streets to Rand Paul, to Lindsey Graham, to Mitch McConnell. These are people who are terrorizing other human beings. What does the left know? They wanted to fund the police to take away the Second Amendment. So why should this surprise you about them? This has become an evil regime. This has become an evil philosophy party, and the ends justify the means to them, Tom. They want to burn. They want to still shut down the government. Don't impeach the presidents. When Obama nominated the oxymoron Justice Sotomayor, if you get what I'm saying, we were fair and square. We opposed her, and when he got reelected, we didn't call for recounts. So I even thought Romney was going to win that election. I said, hey, he won. We'll just have to wait another 4 years. And boy, we got a great president since then.
Yeah, I don't know. Susie Gold, what are we going to do if these people, if you're an advisor to the president, he goes, hey, get that Susie Gold on the Trento show. I want her advice. And he says, Susie, if these people start going nuts in the cities, what do I do?
Well, he's got, it's the responsibility of the government to ensure that there's calm. And just like, the president did when it came to COVID, he spoke with calm and he brought calm to the country. And same thing when there's rioting in the streets, he's got to make sure that there is civil obedience. That's why we need the police force. This nonsense of not backing the blue is absolutely ridiculous. But we need to make sure we have safety and security, and that's a responsibility of the government. So if we need to bring in, I don't know, whatever he needs to do, bring in the National Guard, then that's what we have to do, because we need to make sure that people don't get hurt. And we're not a second-rate country. We're the top country in the world, and we need to make sure that that our citizens are safe.
Crush heads.
Yeah,
Come out there.
Well,
men in full riot gear, go out there, start crushing heads. They'll stop. They stop every time. They're wusses. They're cowards. they're pansies. They will back off. They will, every time you break out there, guys with billy clubs and riot gear, these guys run and hide. That's what you need to do to them.
Well, I think
that's what
also,
it's
it doesn't take a lot of them. You can have, let's say, 10 in the street that are causing havoc, and then you have all the news stations that just focus on these 10, and it looks like there's an army out there. So, we've got the media who are against us as well. So they're going to promote this because they love to sensationalize what's going on. So, people like to see, heads getting crushed. And, it doesn't take a lot, but to put fear in people. It didn't take a lot in those planes on 9/11 at the Pentagon or at the World Trade Center, the towers. It's, it doesn't take a lot. But we have to make sure that we have to get our news on theunitedwest.org. We need to go make sure that we listen to Mike Essen. We need to make sure that we are getting the accurate news, which is not in mainstream media, so that we respond accordingly and not be reactive, just based on what the mainstream media is telling us.
I just got a good point. So obviously, I just got a text from one of our fans who said to remind everyone that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was really pushed during the Obama years to retire, so Obama could appoint a 40 or 50-year-old. Mike, saying. She didn't retire then, Mike. What do you think?
I'm just glad she didn't. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And she made a horrible decision for her and a great decision for the country and for our civil rights, civil liberties.
She meant it for evil. God meant it for good. That's in the Bible somewhere.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's a
Real
good
quick,
point.
Tom, that's exactly my point. What I was saying earlier was that's the reason I think she probably did say it. But once again, who cares?
Yeah, because that's consistent with that kind of I'm staying here no matter what. It's sad. Tell me when the Trump people are coming. What bothers me, Mike.
She's on.
Oh, we're good?
Yes, Gayle is here.
Gayle Trotter, how you doing? Tom Trento, WWNN, 1470 AM, 95.3. We're broadcasting from Miami, way up north through Palm Beach. Good to have you with us. We've been talking about this crazy situation with the Supreme Court. Gayle, enlighten us. What are the plans? What's going on? You're a conservative attorney. You're a legal expert. You're a political analyst. Help us understand the SCOTUS situation today.
Good morning. Good morning.
How you doing?
I am great. How are you all doing?
We're doing great. We know you have a background in law. You're a political analyst. Help us understand what the heck is going on with the Supreme Court today and the rest of this week.
Sure. Well, right now, the nation is mourning the loss of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and you have seen all the prayers going up around the country for her family as they mourn the loss of a mother and a grandmother. And it is a time for the nation to come together and appreciate the sacrifice that our public servants make on our behalf to fulfill the Constitution. Her passing opens up a seat on the Supreme Court, and under Article 2 of our Constitution, the president has the responsibility to nominate a judge for the Supreme Court with the advice and consent of the Senate to appoint that person to the Supreme Court. As you know, President Trump released an updated list of possibilities to fill any vacancies should they arise. He released this list 2 weeks ago, and he has signaled that he is going to select from the women on the list to fill the vacancy left by Justice Ginsburg's passing. He has indicated that he's going to name his nominee on Friday or Saturday of this week after the services have been conducted for Justice Ginsburg, and the Senate is in control of a Republican majority, and they have indicated that they have the votes to confirm President Trump's nominee. And this is an unusual situation that has not been unusual in the Trump presidency, but in prior presidencies, we didn't really have an idea of who the president would nominate for any Supreme Court vacancies. But candidate Donald Trump and President Donald Trump they have been very transparent, this administration, about who they want to put in any vacancies. So we know who's in the running. And the top two choices that have been discussed a lot are Barbara Lagoa from the great state of Florida and Amy Coney Barrett, who is a phenomenal lawyer from the Midwest. And so it just remains to be seen who President Trump thinks would be the best person to fill this vacancy. But all of his choices on his list are excellent legal minds who are fair, independent, and committed to upholding and being faithful to the Constitution.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gayle. Let me ask you a question, though. Where in all of this, I know we talked about the Constitution, and of course, that's what's paramount. That's how we run our country, is to ensure that we follow the Constitution. But where does Ruth Bader Ginsburg's dying wish fit into the scheme of things?
That is not in the Constitution, and I have been a practicing lawyer for 25 years, and I can tell you that is not in the Constitution. And she actually made comments opposite of that during the last go-round of nominations, saying that we have a president who's in office not for 3 years, but for 4 years. And she really pointed out that in these closely contested cases, it's better to have 9 justices than to have a 4-4 split, because then the country is just held in this state of indecision for a long period of time. So I'm so glad you raised that.
Mm-hmm.
But hold on, Gayle, you sure, she voted on abortion, and abortion was kind of in the penumbra of the Constitution.
Yeah.
So isn't her dying wish kind of in the penumbra, of the,
yeah.
in kind of the same way, I mean, can't you make an argument for that?
It might be in the emanations from the penumbras, but
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
familiar with that particular emanation.
What do you know? I got a question for you, Gayle.
Yes.
If for some reason the nomination, everything gets derailed, and we have a 4-4 Supreme Court, and I'm in Palm Beach right now. I lived through 2000. I have saved hanging chads. If we're back to that and we get a 4-4 draw, legally, what happens? It goes back to the district court decision, and is that the 11th Circuit at that point?
Well, you could have a split in the circuit. That's why the Supreme Court is called upon in many of these cases that it decides on. You have different opinions from the 9th Circuit, the 5th Circuit, the 11th Circuit, where you all are. And so that could end up leading to chaos because you don't have a supreme decision that is issued in the case. And it's not only the issue of the election, but there are many, many important cases that are before the Supreme Court in this term. And so you know that the Supreme Court term starts the first Monday in October, and we're going to see that there's enough time to nominate and get someone confirmed. If you look at the time that it took to get, Mitch McConnell was talking about this yesterday, John Paul Stevens, between the time he was nominated and confirmed, 19 days. Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman on the Supreme Court who was nominated by a Republican president, I think that is very important to note, Ronald Reagan, only took her 33 days between nomination and confirmation. And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it only took 42 days between her nomination and confirmation. So there's absolutely no reason for delay. There's plenty of time to get this accomplished. And the advantage with Barbara Lagoa and Amy Coney Barrett is that they were nominated to their district courts, their circuit courts relatively recently. So things like the FBI background check, you'd only need an update. You don't have to go all the way back to high school yearbooks because that's already been done.
Well, you just brought out a very, very important point. We only have a couple of minutes left on our show. Tom Trento, your host, with Susie Golden here, Mike Essen, Mark, Mary, Gayle Trotter's on the line with us, a legal expert. You brought up a very important point. Everyone has to understand this. If the Ninth Circus out in California decides that the president is Joe Biden, and the 11th Circuit decides that, oh, no, the president's Donald Trump, what the hell do you do if you don't have a supreme decider? What would happen?
Then it continues to be stuck in litigation. And we're seeing efforts around the country to not have ballots be certified by election day. And if you extend this by judicial fiat, meaning it's just a judicial decision instead of a decision by the people, by the voters, then you're going to have complete chaos, because then what becomes the standard? Why not let people's votes a year after the election count? What is the standard? And that's why you need the Supreme Court to be at full strength to be able to deal with this and all the other issues before it.
Great point. Mark, you had something real fast. We got about a minute left.
Yeah, real quick. What happens if Mitt Romney, Susan Collins, or anyone just vote present?
Yeah. What happens?
What happens if they just say, I'm present? I mean, do we have a majority of 49? I mean,
well, let her answer. Let her answer.
Yes. So if you have abstentions and you end up having a tie, and Vice President Pence can come in and break the tie, that's something that can be done. And I think, though, that if you look at Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, they've set their positions, but politicians can always change their positions if they hear from their constituents. And so you might see some movement of Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, maybe less Lisa Murkowski, but if there is this one of these women who are excellent lawyers, excellent people, like characters, sterling character, you might see that it's very difficult for Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski to not vote in favor of these women. I would think it would be a real slap to their constituents if they didn't come through and vote for a highly qualified woman to be on the Supreme Court.
But if they just voted, they didn't vote no. If they did not vote no, that's as good as a yes vote for us. Is that not correct?
No. Let me rephrase it, and we have just 30 seconds left. If one of the Republicans votes present, is that good or bad for the Republican position?
It's bad for whoever votes present, but it's good for America because that nominee can still be confirmed.
Okay. All right. That's what we needed to hear. Gayle Trotter, we got to get going. Thank you very, very much. Mike Essen, I'll give you, what do we got, Mike? Mark, 30 seconds for Mike. Mike, you take us out. Give us we need to mobilize the Christians to vote in the state. Give us a little admonition on that.
Guys, when you didn't vote, when you stayed home for Romney and you stayed home for McCain, we got Obama. We'll never forget that. Get out there and vote in person for Donald John Trump, or else this will be the USSR all over again. Get out there right now and get your ass to vote.
And go on the UnitedWest.org and make a donation. Click on
we
that
forgot
button.
about that. All right, Mike Essen, thank you for being here today. We'll see you tomorrow. We got a great show again tomorrow, every day. Tom Trento signing off for our whole team here. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great day.